Hey everyone, it's Cindy Lawrence here. Today I'm making a card using Copic markers and a sweet little stamp set from My Favorite Things called You Are the Best. I'm using the sheep with a heart, one of the grassy hills, and also the sentiment You Are Loved. All of the die cuts on this card are from My Favorite Things as well. And I've previously cut them as well as some twine to make the video go a little bit faster. I'm going to start with a stitch circle die that I have already stamped the grassy hill on, and we're going to color it using two Copic markers on the grassy part. The YG01 is my base color, and I'm just going to make an edge around the bottom here so it can have a nice clean white edge on my cardstock. I'm going to give it a nice base coat with the YG01. I'm being very careful as I'm going around the grass blades. So I like to go around the whole edge first and then just really color it in quickly. So here I'm just giving it a good scribble. Staying in the lines, of course, but not worrying too much about being neat and tidy. I want to get it pretty smooth, but because it's grass, it's okay if it has a little bit of texture in it. Grass has texture. You could put a lot of texture in it if you prefer. So smooth blend is not necessary on this. Next, I've grabbed my YG03 marker to add some shading to the bottom of the circle, and I'm just lightly flicking using the side of my brush. I'm also going to go around the bottom edge one time with my YG03 to give that a nice clean edge as well. So just flicking with the side of my brush, getting rid of any lines, flicking in towards the highlight area, and then I'll come back with my YG01 and I will blend where the two colors meet. And I do tend to go back and forth both directions to blend. If you turn it over, you can see a nice smooth blend on the back side as well. The paper that I'm using is Express It blending card, and I've stamped the image in Memento Tuxedo black ink. So here I'm pre-wetting my paper with a colorless blender. That's your 0 Copic marker. And I have BG 000 as my sky color. And I'm just going to flick into that wet colorless blender area from the top edge. Very lightly. Just give it some nice light flicks with the side of my brush. If you don't make streaks to begin with, then you won't have to clean up streaks afterwards. So I really try to use the side of my brush. Once I have that done, I'm going to come back with my colorless blender and just soften the edges one more time. Now I want to add my sunrise or sunset with a Y32 Copic marker, just going up from the center area of that grassy hill and flicking with the side of my brush into that wet colorless blender, which will help make the edges very soft. I'm going back with my colorless blender and blending that one more time, and then I'll darken some of those areas in close to the center of the sun area. So very simple background. Now we're going to go ahead and color our little sheep. I'm going to start by giving him some texture. On my original card, I did him in cool grays, and today for the video, I'm going to do him in warm grays. Warm grays are nice for animals. I always think warm-blooded, warm gray, but either one is fine. So here I'm just doing very messy scribbles. This is not anything specific. You're not being picky. You're just doing scribbles, leaving some open white space in there. And I've moved on to my W3 and doing some scribbles in less areas than I did the W1. So not going all over the entire sheep, but getting in some of those shadow areas and then filling in the ear and all of the feet as well, because they will be darker when I'm done. So here I'm paying attention to some of those shadow areas. Now I'm going to come in with my W5 and really get into those shadows, start creating some darker shading there, and the feet as well. So I'm going under that arm. And now here I'm just adding a few extra places with some little dark spots in there. And you can do C's, you can do figure 8s, S's, any kind of a little scribble that works for you. My next step is to use my colorless blender to soften all of those edges, all of those lines, so it just kind of looks soft and fluffy. And then I've gone back with my W3 right on top of that wet colorless blender, and I'm adding some more just to kind of blend it out a little bit, soften the look. This is just a very quick and easy way to add some texture to that sheep's fur. There's lots of ways to do this. This is just one of them. And then I've come in with my W5 and I'm going to give those shadows just a little more pop of dark color there. Give him a little more dimension. And the W7 I'm doing on his ear and his forepaws on the bottom half, and then I'll use my W5 on the top half to blend that out. So now we're done with his fur. Right after I do one more blend with my colorless blender, anywhere where I see harsh edges. Now I'm going to move on to his face, and I chose to do earth tones. You could do black face. Some sheep have dark faces. So I've colored it all in with the E000. I'm adding some shadow with my E02. And then I will use my E93 to give him a little bit of a rosy cheek, him or her. And then I'm going to blend very lightly with my E000 on the edges. Finally, we'll do the heart. Now I'm going to do this heart in red, so I've started with a pink, which is R21, and I'm coloring that whole heart in with this lightest color. Just a quick smooth blend, and then I'll come in with R24, and I'll find some areas where I want to add some shading. I'm making this heart look a little more puffy than flat. So I'll put some shading on the right side and then a little bit on the top of the left side as well. And then I've got my R21 and I am blending that out. Those two colors are a little bit far apart from each other in the spectrum, so you do have to work it a little bit extra to make those blend nicely. And then I'm going to use R29 to increase the shading in the shadows, to give it a little more depth. And then I'll baby step my way backwards and do R24 one more time and blend with my R21 just on the edge. Don't go over the whole thing with the R21. You'll take away all your shading. And I did go over it a little bit much this time, so I ended up having to go back with my R24 one more time and add it back in there again. You can get away with that a couple times before you've put too much ink on your paper. And keep in mind that red likes to bleed outside the lines, so you need to be careful about not putting too much ink down. All right, blend, and he is done, or she is done. Once I put my card layers together, I added some red heart sequins in the top corner, and those are from Pretty Pink Posh. As you can see, I have a great collection of sequins. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave me comments or questions in the comment section below. Have a great day.